Is it possible to change our behavior to be more moral? This is the question I addressed in Lesson 3 of Are You Minding What Matters? We covered Lessons 1 and 2 in earlier episodes, and so far, they are our most downloaded episodes. So I figured you'd want to hear Lesson 3. Furthermore, the subject is just so important. Before we get into it, I should mention that I recently uploaded all the finished sections of Are You Minding What Matters to our website, so you don't need to wait for more episodes in order to access the material. And, of course, I've included a link in the description. So, after this short musical interlude, what you'll hear is the first part of Are You Minding What Matters? Lesson 3, Our Moral Possibility. Knowing how to differentiate between truth and falsehood, as we learned in Lesson 1, and between right and wrong, moral and immoral, as we learned in Lesson 2, is certainly getting somewhere. But how far does it get us if it turns out it's impossible to change our behavior? Say you've been in the habit of carrying out a certain action, but through reflecting on our previous lesson, you've discovered that that action is immoral. Your awareness of the immorality of that action would only be of practical benefit if you're able to change your behavior to no longer carry out that action. Otherwise, it seems all you would gain from the knowledge of the immorality of your action is a sense of guilt and perpetual entrapment as you continue making the same action with no hope of change. So, it's imperative to determine whether it's possible to change our behavior to become more aligned with material reality, to be more moral. In short, what is our moral possibility? Is it possible to change our behavior? On one hand, the answer to this question seems so obvious that the question itself appears a little ridiculous. After all children are taught to change their behavior in an increasingly civil direction, or so we hope. Complaining, hitting, and tantrums are discouraged, while patience, politeness, and consideration of others are encouraged. And while these changes don't take place in all children equally or at the same pace, the fact that these changes actually occur can hardly be denied. Likewise, there are countless examples of individuals reforming their lives from less moral patterns of behavior to more moral ones. There are abusers who stop abusing, addicts who stop using, and haters who stop hating. Examples aren't hard to come by. You've probably reformed your behavior in some respects yourself, or have witnessed someone you know do it. One inspiring example of moral reformation is the more than 200 Ku Klux Klan members who left the Klan through the influence of Daryl Davis, a black man who engages in respectful conversations with KKK members out of a desire to understand how it is that someone could hate another person merely because of the color of their skin. Googling Daryl Davis will bring you to some concrete examples. If members of the KKK can reform, if they can abandon the immoral beliefs and actions integral to racism, then, once again, it seems that the changeableness of our behavior, even in a positive moral direction, is a fact that can hardly be denied. Or can it? Despite the above-mentioned facts, there are a couple of challenges sometimes raised to the idea that we can actually change our behavior. The first is quite radical when viewed from the perspective of everyday life. Yet, it's taken seriously by a large number of educated people. What I'm referring to is the idea that change and time itself is an illusion. And of course, if change itself is an illusion, then the idea that we can change our moral thoughts and actions is ultimately an illusion as well. So, we need to consider whether time really is an illusion. And that's what we'll do in our next episode. As a reminder, I've already put the finished sections of Are You Minding What Matters on our website. You can get to it using the link in the description. One other thing. The primary way people discover podcasts is through word of mouth. So, if you know anyone who would be interested in giving the show a listen, please mention it to them. They might not hear about it in any other way. Thanks.